Hello, AP Worlders. Welcome to Land-Based Empires from 1450 to 1750. During this time period, three Islamic empires formed that stretched from the Middle East to South Asia. The most impressive and enduring of the new Islamic states was the Ottoman Empire, which is here. The second was the Safavid Empire, and then third is the Mughal Empire, which is here. The Ottoman Empire, which lasted from 14th century to the early 20th century. The Ottomans pushed into Europe, ruling over the Balkan area. All right, so you see the Ottomans, they pushed into Europe here, Balkan area, which is here, that's like present-day Greece. The Ottomans also stretched into coastal North Africa, around here. The huge amount of land that the Ottomans obtained required them to incorporate many diverse people. Only the Ming dynasty in China and the Incas in the South America matched the Ottomans in terms of wealth, power, and splendor. The empire represented the Turks as the dominant people in the Islamic world. The Turks, all right, so which is present day Turkey. All right, see, it also takes present day like Iraq, Syria, right, Israel, those places. All right, the neighboring lands, the Persian lands to the east of the Ottoman Empire, another Islamic state, also took shape, right, the Safavids. Its leadership was also Turkic, but in this case, it emerged from a Sufi religious order. All right, so remember earlier in the year, we talked about the differences between the Sunni and Shiite sects of Islam. The Safavid, they decided to impose the Shia version of Islam. All right, so they were Shia, and the Ottomans here, they were Sunni. All right, so this religious difference between the two would often erupt into military conflict between the Ottomans and the Safavids. The third empire, which is here, the Mughal in India. The Mughals, they governed large non-Muslim population. All right, so India, right? So remember, they were mostly Hinduism, right? All right, so the Mughals had a unique challenge of governing over a mostly non-Muslim population. The Mughal Empire was another Islamicized Turkic group, and they invaded India in 1526. During the first 150 years, the Mughal Empire was a land of great wealth and imperial splendor, and tried to blend many Hindu groups and Muslims into an effective partnership. The attempt of Mughal rulers to accommodate their Hindu subjects was similar to the Ottoman rulers who provided religious autonomy to their Christian minority groups, right? So when the Ottomans came into this area, they gave their Christians, people here, religious freedom. And so the Mughals, they tried to give the Hindu people here in India some religious freedom. In Africa, during this time, a fourth Islamic dynasty was established with the Songhay dynasty. Remember, we discussed them earlier in the earlier unit when we talked about West Africa and the trade from this trans-Sahara trade routes, right? We went over Ghana, Mali, and then the third group was the Songhai. All right, but these four Muslim empires brought to the Islamic world a greater measure of political coherence. All right, military power and economic prosperity and cultural brilliance. The era is sometimes called a second flowering of Islam. In the Americas, in the 15th century, new, large, and more politically unified expressions of those civilizations developed. Right, they both replaced previous civilizations. All right, so we have the Aztecs and the Incas. The Aztecs replaced the Mayans, remember in this area, and the Incans replaced the Chavín here in the Andes Mountains. Both are going to collapse at the hands of the Spanish conquistadors who would conquer them in the 16th century. The Aztecs was founded by a group from northern Mexico who migrated southward and established themselves on a small island in Lake Texcoco. The legend has it that they were to travel until they saw a bird with a snake in its mouth, and when they saw that, that is where they would know where to settle. The Aztecs led a military conquest that in less than 100 years brought more of Mesoamerica within a single political power than ever before. The Aztecs ruled in a loosely structured and unstable state that often had rebellions. Conquered people. The Aztecs led a military conquest that in less than 100 years brought more of oh, sorry, I think I already said that. The Aztecs ruled in a loosely structured and unstable state that often say rebellions, but I think I already said that part. Oh, conquered people were required to provide labor for Aztec projects and regularly deliver textiles and clothing, military supplies, jewelry, and other luxuries. A tribute system similar to that in China, people in the surrounding areas would have to give them money and goods. The city featured numerous canals, dikes, causeways, and bridges, and floating gardens or chinampas. I guess that was it. The Incans built the largest imperial state in the Western Hemisphere along the Andes Mountains. Unlike the Aztecs, the Incans built a bureaucratic empire. At the top reigned the emperor, who was a divine ruler, the son of the sun god. The state owned all the land. They had governors who ruled over local subjects. In an effort to spread their culture, leaders of conquered people had to learn the Incan language, and their sons were sent off for instruction in Incan culture and language. The Incans demanded their conquered people not to pay a tribute, but to provide service. This system was known as the Mita system. Everyone had to work for the state. Both the Aztecs and Incans were similar in their gender system. Both civilizations gave the women more rights. Women and men operated in two separate but equivalent spheres, and each gender enjoyed autonomy in its own sphere. Men still occupied the top position in both political and religious life. Living in the mountains, the Incans found a unique way to farm. They carved out steps into the mountains. Alright, so here's a look at the steps. This was called terrace farming. This would prevent the seeds from running down the mountain. Alright, and then last, we have the Ming Dynasty. Chinese rule was disrupted by the Mongol rule. Chinese rule was disrupted by the Mongol rule and the Yuan Dynasty. But during the Ming Dynasty, China recovered. Alright, so the Ming are going to replace the Mongols. When the Ming came to power, the first thing they did was try to discourage things related to the Mongols and promote Confucian learning and orthodox gender roles. Alright, the Ming moved the capital to Beijing and built a magnificent imperial residence known as the Forbidden City. There's a modern day look at the Forbidden City. They re-established the civil service exam, and the emperor created a group of eunuchs, or castrated men, who were personally loyal to him and gave him great authority. The economy rebounded both internationally and domestically. The Ming took the largest and most impressive maritime expeditions the world had ever seen, led by Zheng He. These expeditions had more than 300 ships and a crew of 27,000 men. Zheng He was to get distant people to be part of the tribute system of China. As Zheng He would travel, if the places he arrived to, if they would perform the ritual of pledging Chinese superiority, or kowtow, that required ritual of submission, they would receive in return abundant gifts, titles, and trading opportunities. The Chinese did not seek to conquer these people or to spread their culture. They were just looking for tribute. These voyages were abruptly and deliberately ended after 1433. Many high-ranking officials saw these expeditions as a waste of resources because they believed that China was the self-sufficient Middle Kingdom and that they were giving others more than what they were getting in return. All right, so that's it for the land-based empires. I'll see everyone in class.